came Takum. So by my age, it's my age that makes people get up for me, but you can sit. I'm very happy to have the occasion to be at this gathering of Talmidei Chutz La'aretz who've come to learn here in the Yeshivat Torah Eretz Yisrael. And before I even start telling you my brief story and my message to you, I want to pay tribute to your Rosh Yeshiva. First and foremost, Rabbi Reuven Terligan, who is such a wonderful master of bringing you close to Yeshiva, to Torah, to Eretz Yisrael. To Rabbi Horn, to Rabbi Cutler, to Rabbi Heller, to Rabbi Brody. It gave you, in this times that you've spent here, the warmth of this yeshiva, which makes it very special. I, of course, also pay tribute to the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Vida, and the Mashgiach, Rabbi Lifshitz. I've had the chut after the Milchemet Yom Shishi, after the 6-Day War, to come here very soon after, when the yeshiva was quartered in the ruins upstairs. It was all ruins. All you saw was rubble and stones. And there the yeshiva was among it. And I came here, I walked up the hill, I went down to the little square of the Hakotel. It was a tiny little square full of stones. I went down and I came up and there was the yeshiva. And since then, I've been sort of married to this place. And it's a very great zechut for me. And I watched this yeshiva grow. In 1976, we started to build here. And soon after, instead of going out and building, we got into the antiquities of old Yerushalayim. And I hope that all of you have a chance to see the museum down below and to see the Makom Kadosh of the old city, its dwellings, its mikvaot, its shuls. It's a tremendous history of Yerushalayim at which you stand, apart, of course, from being across from the Hakotel Ma'aravi, from the Har HaBayit. The message I want to give you is this. I look back, you're young, and you are in today's history, which is exciting enough. But in order to understand where we are and how we are here, and the times in which we live, you have to understand the background which you've heard in your schools and history books. I lived through it. I was born in Germany, was fortunate enough to get out before the Second World War and avoided the horrors of the Holocaust, got to England, then to Canada, and I was very fortunate that when Jewish Europe was destroyed, to be in Canada quietly studying at a university. We didn't realize the full extent of the tragedy that was happening to us. Yes, there was pressure from escape, and the British government gave us so much difficulty it wouldn't allow Jews to get here. In 1945, at the end of the war, when we realized the horrible tragedy of losing European Jewry, 6 million men, women, children, among them more than 1 million children. It was an unbelievable feeling of Yehush, of getting lost in this world. And then came the tremendous nechama of Medinat Yisrael. I remember the night listening, fascination, to the United Nations voting for a Medina. And it was a nest. Said on that occasion it would never have happened again. The United States, Russia, and a majority of countries voted to create Medinat Yisrael. Since then, and I've been coming since 1956, 2, 3, 4 times a year to visit Eretz Yisrael. We bought our first Iraq in 1975, but now we've come on Aliyah 2 years ago. And the miracle of seeing this Medina grow, both physically, the buildings, the forests, the Yeshivat, the schools, it's an unbelievable miracle. And so I say to you that the chut of learning Torah Eretz Yisrael, is making Jewish history. Never before, even during the time of Yeshivat in Europe, in Poland and Russia and Lithuania, were there so many people learning Torah as there is today. And if I can only impart on you the ness of it all, the miracle of it all, the realization of what you live for and what you live about and what our people are all about. That's what I'm trying to do. We are sitting here to eat a meal at a very, very sad day when 3 of yours, Talmidei Yeshiva, were kidnapped by terrorist Arabs. It's very, very sad, but somehow throughout Jewish history, we've had days of joy, we've had days of Yagon V'Anacha, and as we all say Tehillim in our prayers, Shacharit, Mincha, Mariv, for these young boys who are in captivity right now, we realize the dangers and also the opportunities. When the whole world is against us, begrudge us this little piece of land, begrudge our peoplehood, they'd rather see us as victims than as victors. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us from each problem in these years. So in our weakness, we are victors. Victors to survive. Victors to carry the spirit of Torah. A small group of 15 million people among 6 billion in this world. But we realize the danger. What's happening right now in Iraq, this new Islamic State coming up, is an indescribable danger. We, whether we are in uniform or the uniform of Lomdei Torah, the uniform of being good Jews here in Eretz Yisrael and also in Chutz La'aretz, we are all soldiers of an army of Hashem. So I wish you in this beautiful Yeshiva success in your learning of Torah and carrying with you the qualities someday of leadership, of bringing up families, someday having a new generation of children, but being leaders in the spirit of Torah, Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, Torah Yisrael. All the best.
I want to thank Mr. Rothschild for making the effort and being here today. We look forward to his continued efforts on behalf of the Yeshiva, the State of Israel, and Klal Yisrael. We'd like to begin the official program for the boys with something that's most appropriate, and everyone can be seated. And that is, of course, a sign of what we are most proudest of throughout the year. As Cutler mentioned yesterday, a boy who came to the Yeshiva without the ability to even look at a Gemara, and now is making a siyum on a Masechet. And Baruch Hashem, every Friday this year, there have been people making siyumim, and we'd like to note particularly the boys who are making siyumim on the Masechet of the Yeshiva Brachot, on the Daf Yomi we've just been finishing Rosh Hashanah, on Bava Kama, those who haven't made yet. And I'd like to ask Shimi Steinmetz to come up and tell us Dvar Torah about the Masechet he finished Brachot, and then we'll ask David Mandelbaum to come up and read the last piece of Rosh Hashanah, and then we'd like to ask everyone who finishing now Brachot and Rosh Hashanah and the Bava Kama, and I thank Rav Dovi and Svi for helping me put together the list, to come up to say the Hadron together, each one on their Masechet. Shimi, please.
Sorry if it's a little longer than 2 minutes. Try to make it as short as possible. So the Gemara Brachos on Nun Hayim and Aleph quotes Rabbi Yochanan saying that in HaKadosh Baruch Hu notzin Chachma l'mi sheyesh bo Chachma. Hashem only gives Chachma to one who already has Chachma. So the obvious question is, if Hashem didn't give you Chachma, how did you get that original Chachma? So we know the Gemara, there's a Gemara about Basar and Chafei Amid Beis that says Eretz Sheyachkim Yatzvin, and there's a Gemara in Idan Amid Beis that says Eretz Sheyachkim Yivakesh Memisha Chachma Shalom. But even before that, that's how I'm asking for Chachma, but actually receiving the Chachma, Hashem says He's only going to give it to you if you already have the Chachma. So I guess Hashgacha Pratis. Unfortunately, the only Nefesh HaChaim I learned is one parak and one shar, and it happened to be Shar Dalet Parak Hay, in which he explains that really Hashar Harishon L'Chachma Al Yonahu Yiras Hashem, quoting that Rishis Chachma Yiras Hashem. There's the idea that the first Chachma really depends on the idea of Yiras Hashem. The question is, why does Yiras Hashem then achieve? Why do you achieve Chachma just based off Yiras Hashem? So what is Yiras Hashem? Yiras Hashem, on a very basic level, is basically the understanding that God is in every aspect of our lives, that God runs whatever we do, and only when you realize that can you really have true awe, true fear of Hashem, when you realize He's running every part of your life. And therefore, to achieve this sort of Chachma Elokis, to understand that it is Chachma Elokis, that the Torah is Chachma Elokis, you can only really understand when you have the year and you have the understanding that Hashem is there. And that's the reason why probably in the third paragraph of Mishnah and Avos that it says Ein Chachma in Yera, Ein Yera in Chachma. They work hand in hand. But to achieve the original Chachma, it's not so simple. The Gemara in Brachos Amud Gimel Amud Beis says, "Kol b'yirei Shamayim chutz mi'yirei Shamayim," and the Gemara continues and says, "Yirei Shamayim is not that easy. That really only Moshe found it easy. That for us it's very, very hard." So even though you may think that it's you could just have to think that Hashem's everywhere. It's clearly a hard avoda to work at, but in general we still have this idea that Yirei Shamayim is really how you're going to achieve Chachma. And Yeshiva, that's really when you sort of start realizing that Hashem is in every aspect of your life. You're in a very spiritual environment, you see everything in light of religiosity, and therefore you see Hashem in every aspect. There's a Gemara in Sota on Mamches Amud Aleph that says that Kol Mi Sheyesh Pas B'Salo, and then he's worrying about tomorrow. He's Mikatnei Emunah. The Kotzker says that really the whole idea of why he's Mikatnei Emunah is because just because he has Pas B'Salo that day doesn't mean he shouldn't worry about that day. That he sort of, just because he has it, he sort of maybe like took his mind off the fact that Hashem runs even that day. So even though he thought he had something, in 1 second Hashem can do basically whatever he wants and he can just change it. And it's also interesting in the third parak of Mishlei, when it discusses Chachma and Torah, the first part, before it says Asher Adam, that has Chachma, it says Alti Chacham Beinecha Yereis Hashem B'chol D'rachecha De'eyu. There's the concept of B'chol D'rachecha De'eyu, and you should have Yira, that they're sort of interchangeable. The way to be Yirei Hashem is B'chol D'rachecha De'eyu. The way to understand and have Yirei Shamayim is to understand that you have to see Him in every aspect of your life. It's interesting that Shlomo Melech, who is the king of Chachma, is the one that says that. And with this understanding that Yirei Shamayim is Chachma, perhaps that can explain why Brachos is the first Masechta in Shas. And we know that Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem. Brachos we say brachos on every little thing. Your understanding that Hashem is everything. And to appreciate that, you need this Yiras Hashem. We say in Tehillim, Marabu Masecha Hashem, Kulam Chachma Asisa. That the whole idea is to understand that Hashem's Chachma, Kulam Chachma Asisa, you have to have this Yiras Hashem first. And that's what the brachos are. And therefore we make brachos hanenin. And we have more than just brachos hanenin. Right? The Mishnah in the 9th parak says, that it's not just on actual food, it's on actions, it's on everything you do. And read the Gemara later on that Mishnah takes it even farther, that you basically have to have happiness when you're just like Mevarech Al Hara. It says even when you're happy. And I heard quoted from either Rav Targum or Rav Horn, I'm not sure, or maybe not, I may be making this up. But it says, we say Tel Mazor B'dima Berina Yiktoru. That there's something read that it's Hazor and B'dima Berina Yiktoru. When you have the idea of Hazor and B'dima, when you do it Berina, that's when Yiktoru. When you see that it's all coming from Hashem, that really everything's from Hashem, then Yiktoru.
It's Rav Horn.
So it's Rav Horn, okay. That the idea is that you're seeing Hashem's everything. So Brachos basically helps you understand that Hashem has a plan and He runs everything. And it's only when we truly understand that and have this Yirei Hashem, it's only when we truly have Yirei Shamayim can we understand the purpose that we were created, right? L'kach notzar, that the Mishnah says. And therefore, Yirei Shamayim is really the basis for life in general. And we shall be zochet to have the proper Yirei Shamayim, that we can grow and become big Talmidei Chacham.
David, please. Go stay here, please. I'd like to ask all those who finished any of those Masechtas to please come up while David reads the piece, and then we'll say the Hadron together.
Okay, so the last piece of Rosh Hashanah is discussing a statement by Rabbi Gamliel that seemingly implied that the people in the town, even if they don't go to shul, would be pater through the tefillah, would be yotze through the tefillah of Tzibor, which doesn't really make any sense. Meaning, just as the people out in the fields who are too busy, they're honest, and they're pater, they're yotze through the Tzibor. His statement seemed to imply that so would everyone in the town where the shul is, even though they didn't come to shul. So we clarified that statement. And the Rabin came out from Eretz Yisrael the Babel. He said, Amar Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, Amar Rabbi Shimon Chasido, Lo Pater Rabban Gamliel, Ela Amsha B'Sadon. Only the people who are in the Sadot, who are working or far away, they're unable to come to shul, they're the ones who are Yotzei for the Shliach Tzibor. My time, why? Because they are honest, they're unable to come. Aval Be'irlo, which Rabbeinu Hananel and the Rif take to understand, the people in the town, they are Yotzei only if they come to shul, and not if they don't. Hagan Olav Yom Tov Aslik Olav Nesechet Rosh Hashanah.
Everyone please step around, we'll say the Hadra together. Everyone open up to a place where you have your Hadra, you're saying it obviously in yours. Step around behind the podium together. Everyone step over here. Let's all step together here. Say the word, everyone will say the word of them itself. With me? Okay? So get ready, everyone have the thing, step closer. One step closer. Let's take a group picture with Dr. Kabal's got a group picture.
Like that. You hiding?
Shimmy, hiding? Who's Shimmy?
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Go, Hadra.
Hallelujah.